Hey guys, it's Saucy J here at Keep It Simple TV, back with another Real Housewives of Potomac Season 6, Part 1 of the reunion, or the reunion Part 1. Anyway, you get it. You guys, thank you so much for hanging in there with me. I'm sorry I have been busy with work and I've had to put in those extra hours, so I wasn't able to get to my reviews as timely as I would like. So thank you for you guys who have subscribed and who are hanging in there with me. Thank you. And especially thank you to the person who got me to 30. Yay. You know, this is great. You know, it seemed like I was holding at 29 forever. So I want to thank the person who went ahead and hit that subscribe button and got me to 3-0. Hopefully before the year's out, I can get to 100 and maybe even 1,000. And if I get to 1,000 subscribers, that means I can do lives and you guys can talk with me and we can discuss the Real Housewives and other issues of the day. I think I bring a unique experience or reviews of these shows, and I try not to have any favorites. I see in a lot of other vlogs, they're picking favorites and it's getting really ugly out there, especially in the terms of the ladies of the Real House of Potomac. So it's getting real vicious, but I try to keep my reviews very neutral and balanced. With that being said, I want to once again thank the person that gave me the 3-0. I'm really happy about that. So we'll go ahead and get into this review. As I always say, please hit the subscribe button. If you're already subscribed, just make sure you're subscribed. You don't have to hit it again. But hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, because that helps me out with the algorithm. It drives more people to my channel. And and leave a comment. Let me know you're out there. Good, bad, or indifferent. All comments are welcome. Also share this video as well. So without further ado, let's get into Season 6, Episode 18, Reunion Part 1. Yes, I know this is Part 1, but I want to do Part 1 before I go to Part 2. And my review of Part 2 is going to have a special product review from one of the ladies of the Real Housewives of Potomac. I was successful in getting one of their products. So stay tuned for Part 2. Thanks. All right, so they're going in on Candace. Well, no, this is, that's in Part 2. Sorry. So in this episode, Reunion Part 1, Andy is going in. We get to see the ladies as they're coming in. Candace looks cute. Then I think just Robin came in after her, and they're all like piling in, walking in, whatever. And Andy is going around and visiting with all the ladies. Andy goes into Wendy's room and he smells this beautiful scent. And it turns out she said, oh, that's Anye, her candle. So stay tuned. Maybe I have that one I'm going to review. I don't know. Maybe I have it. Maybe I don't. Because some of these products were sold out. I mean, the viewers of Potomac love these ladies. So if you have a good product, they're selling out. Everybody except for Giselle. I wonder why. We'll get to that in a second. And so then he goes into, I think he at some point goes into Candace's room, and Candace advises Andy that when people come knocking on her door, he says, you're going to blow it up. Exactly. Like Candace is of the school, don't start none, won't be none. And I'm with her on that. Then he goes into Ashley's room and she lies and says she's Darby's Barbie, whatever, because of the dress she has on. Andy thinks she looks like a Barbie doll. You know, she's going to look like a Barbie doll with that dress. Very pageant dress, very simple dress. Then he runs into Mia. Oh, no. And then I'm just going to speed up. Everybody's starting to go in. Mia's first, which is understandable. Mia is about business. She has her own businesses, so she's probably very regimented as far as her schedule. So she's telling Andy, this happens to her all the time. She's always at a scene first, always waiting for people. So now she knows to bring her computer, her notebook with her, you know, in order to get some work in. And Andy's like, yeah, that's smart. And that is smart. You know, Mia's smart in some instances. In other instances, not so much, sis. And Then let's go. Oh, okay. So everybody's in. Andy talks about Candace's EP at some point. I don't know if he talked about it before they go in on Giselle's fashions. But anyway, I just want to get to that real quick. Everybody, half of the ladies, it seems like, has listened to it. I myself has listened to a couple of her singles. It's, you know, she can sing. She's way better than Ashley. I said, one thing that's good out of Candace's singing is that she shut up Ashley, because we didn't have to listen to her and that auto-tune and that whiny voice. So yeah, you know, and allegedly, well, factually, Anita Baker sent a shout out to Candace saying good job. And from what I heard, it's really good. So she has a successful EP. So congratulations to Candace, who has a real storyline, who's out there doing the damn thing. She's out there. She's got her EP. She's got a show. You know, she's doing her acting. And she's going back to school to get her graduate degree, a master's in business. So, you know, Candace has a lot on her plate, and she's doing it. So Andy brings up Giselle's lack of fashions, or, you know, fashion sense. You know, Giselle has no fashion. Like someone has said before, I believe it was Erica De Niro TV who said it first, but Wendy, you know, I think she stole it from Erica. Erica De Niro is another vlogger on YouTube, and she said all Giselle had to do her whole life was sit back and be pretty, so she really didn't have to try because she's so pretty. And that's basically it. I mean, for, you know, where she comes from, her father was this famous civil rights leader, politician, and the girl has no fashion sense at all whatsoever. She won't even go get any. She's been on this show now 6 seasons, and her fashions haven't really not gotten any better. She's like stuck in the 90s, maybe the early 2000s as far as her dress. This dress, tonight's dress on Giselle, I love the color. It's very much First Lady of the Church, which she needs to get out of that mode. She really does. But it's a beautiful dress. Nothing I would wear. It's more of like Mother of the Bride. You know, she's, to me, still too young, too pretty to wear something like that, but the color is great on her. That's one thing Andy did this season. Gave the girls a good color, because he messed them up with that yellow last season. That was yellow. They didn't know how to pull that off. This season, they have a beautiful, it looks like, it looks like fuchsia, pinks, in that family, and it's really, you know, flattering to their skin tone. So the dress Giselle picked, the color was nice, but the style is too old. So everybody starts laughing. Mia laughs about Giselle's fashion sense. Wendy says how dreadful her fashion sense is. Giselle says she has been using, because yeah, Andy said, well, who's been helping you? She's been using the same person. And I'm like, if that's Cal, stop it. Like, come on, Cal, you know. It's like, I hope she is not a representative of your work, because the hair you do for her is horrible, horrible. Giselle already has nice hair, but she goes and buys these horrible wigs. And then the color, the way he's dyeing her hair is not that great. It's like, you have an opportunity to up your game and you don't. And maybe that's why nobody bought your Every Hue makeup line, because they look at how your makeup is done, your hair is done. It's like, no, I'm not going to run out and get that when I'm looking at you and your makeup is horrible. So anyway, she said she's been using the same person, but she didn't name who it was. And so Andy starts to go around the room to ask people what they think of Giselle's fashion. So he starts off with Candace, and Candace says she does not agree with Giselle's choices, with some of her choices. She tried to be a little nice, but Giselle, you know, cuts her off, chimes in and says, well, you know, I don't like your choices. But Candace points out, and this is why they get mad at Candace, is that she wears fashions that other people would buy. Nobody would buy what Giselle has on. So, you know, Giselle, you had to try to go there with Candace, and Candace did the 1-2 pop, you know, and got you up off her. And then people always want to cry and say, oh, she's too vicious with her comeback. She needs to stop. You know, it's like, girl, why did you even say anything? Because, you know, Candace was not going to go in on you like you go in on other people. So, let's see. Karen says, you know, because as everybody starts chiming in about how horrible her son's dress is, Karen says, you know, we cannot expect any improvement. Because even Karen has stepped up her game. Karen has revamped how she looked. She got plastic surgery to correct, I guess, some prior surgery she had done on her breasts. So just like she got new breast implants, she got better hairstylists, makeup, all that. That's what you're supposed to do on these reality shows. You're supposed to, each year, each season, get better, get more glamorous, because that's what the audience wants to see. Okay, so then they show a video from Nicki Minaj, because Nicki let it be known on Twitter that she was crazy about the Real Housewives of Potomac and she wanted to take Andy's spot. So, you know, she wanted to be able to sit in Andy's chair and grill the girls. Then it was up in the air. Nobody knows, is she coming on, what? And so this video, she says, sorry guys, I won't be able to do it. Maybe with some scheduling conflicts, but you know, I love, you know, I love the show, blah, blah, blah. So all the girls were like, oh, that's too bad. You know, they were upset that she wasn't coming. And so, you know, Andy asked everyone how they felt about it. Of course, they were sad. And Wendy Osefo, to me, lies and says that she's a Barb. I really just don't see Wendy Osefo as a Barb. I mean, she's like trying. One thing about Robin, what she said about Wendy was that, you know, where's this, not so much, I don't want to say ghetto, but like, she's trying to act like she's this hip girl or whatever. And, you know, maybe she is, but I think a person that was doing as much studying and hard work as she was to get those 4 degrees plus a doctorate, I'd be surprised if she had time to really get into Nicki Minaj, but maybe she did. She just doesn't seem like a Barb. But anyway, I'm gonna go with what the woman said. She says she's a Barb, so that's why she's upset that Nicki Minaj is not coming. So Andy starts in with Mia and a whole montage of Mia's life. No, that's just me saying that. But he starts, you know how he does when he starts to go into each housewife. He shows their montage from the season and all what they went through. Here's my thoughts on Mia. She's a bit of, she's crazy and she's a liar. And her lies are not good and she doesn't have to lie. But in one sense, she did keep the show moving. Because like when she would go back and play a real bad game of telephone, that was cute. Because then it could be just like, oh, girl, Mia never, because she'll own up to it. Like, well, you know what? I really didn't hear it right, blah, blah, blah. Oh, sorry. That's fine. But, you know, all the other lies that she was telling, it was just stupid. So, you know, Mia says to Andy, it's been a wild ride. It's nothing, you know, I guess like what she expected, whatever. And so once again, Andy goes around the couch to ask everybody what their first impression of Mia was. He starts with Candace. And Candace said she thought Mia was nice. She thought she was fun at first, you know. So Giselle, because she's on the mission now to undercut Candace at every turn, because the target this season to get rid of is Candace, you know. It was probably last season, but Monique messed it up. Probably in Giselle's world last season, Monique or Candace could have left, but Monique, you know, was it last season? Oh my God, seems like forever. Monique messed it up. So Monique ended up going because of her behavior. Yes, I know supposedly she was asked to come back, Monique that is, to come back to the show, and they gave her a contract, but I think the contract was, you know, not really good, and she just didn't take it because the money was stupid. She already said the check she got from the show was nothing, so I think the next check they offered her, because from the past, like when they did Portia, they like after her violent incident with Kenya. I think they reduced her salary, paid her less, and maybe made her a friend. It was kind of like she kind of had to work her way back into the good graces of the show. Monique didn't want to do that. And then I think also Chris said he didn't want to be involved with the show anymore. That Chris Samuels, Monique Samuels' husband. Anyway, got off track. So the target this year to get rid of is Candace. Candace has a target on her back. So Giselle lies and says that Mia owns her shit. No, she doesn't. Mia did not own her shit. Mia would throw lies out there, and then people would start whittling away at her lies. I mean, the woman didn't even know what her age was. Remember, at first she was supposed to be 36. G was supposed to be 68, but she said they were 38 years apart. Well, when you do the math, that's 74. Oh, then so she had to redo the math and say she was 38 and they're just 30 years apart, so she could get to 68. So it was just stuff like that, because Candace jumps in and says no, she doesn't tell the truth, she's a liar. So Giselle was like, what do you mean? What do you mean? What did she lie about? And so Candace and Wendy was like, well, Candace was like everything. Wendy was like a lot of stuff. So Candace goes in about the whole clitoplasty. If you're disgusted or I'm sorry, that's what they get. It's to that level now where people are discussing, it's just to that level now where they are discussing people's surgeries in that area, because Mia brought it up, because once again Mia was lying, and she was saying that she did say that she had a clitoplasty and nobody knew what that was about. But I had heard about that before, where they can make it look more attractive. I'm like, okay, they can do everything nowadays. And it turns out it wasn't in that area. She had a lot of work down there. They're like, a lot of work? What are you talking about? A lot of work. So Annie was like, oh, well, did you have, a vaginal rejuvenation? And she was like, well, my doctor said it was in that area. It wasn't on that. And you girls need to grow up. No doctor has told you that, Mia. And so she's trying to play like she had who knows what she had going on down there. But, when she tried to say that through the kids, or maybe intimate that after giving birth 3 times, so Ashley busted her out right away and said, but didn't you have like C-sections? She's like, oh yeah, I had 3 sections. All my children were born by C-section. Okay, so why did you have work done down there? So she just, said she had work down there, she said her and G had an active sex life. And so Wendy busted her out, because remember when they were all met up as couples and they had to say what sex, one of the questions was, what was their favorite sexual position? And Mia and G said missionary. So Wendy's like, well, you don't get messed up from having missionary sex, missionary position sex. And he was like, well, maybe G is, big like that. Not big, but, working with something that, may have caused some issues for her. Anyway, they get off the subject because Mia said, look, I just had a whole lot of work done down there. That's it. That's all. Okay. So it's like, girl, you didn't put out all your business. So now we know that, you was, because of your life circumstances, you've probably been out there. That's how I took it, because you've been working in a strip club. What you first said, it wasn't a strip club, it was a gentleman's club. You're still holding on to that. You don't say where it is. We'll get to the whole gentleman's club in a minute. But it was a gentleman's club that served steak and lobster. That made it high class, because they serve steak and lobster. Okay. All right, Mia. So, and then they bring up about how Mia G spent $10,000 for 2 hours just to talk to her. And you're not a liar. And Mia owns her shit. Right. So basically, Candace is right once again, but everybody hates Candace for whatever reason, right? Candace and some other people think it's based on color. These women seem to go after all the dark-skinned women on the show. They got rid of Charisse. This is me saying it. They got rid of Charisse. They got rid of Katie. They got rid of Monique, and now they're going after Candace. So then they talk about how, yeah, you know, Mia met G in the strip club, and it turns out he was part owner of the strip club. He built the whole VIP room, and she didn't really own up that they had a champagne room, because see, in the champagne room, that's where all the real action happens. And that means the girls have to do the private dances. And everybody knows that sometimes in those private dance sessions, you're doing more than dancing. And everybody's like, girl, $10,000 for 2 hours, you're doing more than talking. But Mia, you know, because she wants to be bougie so bad, but she can't. That's her problem. And I like her for the show in terms of, yeah, you want to put all your business out there, and it's, man, I'm not going to say that. I really don't like her for the show, because she wants to be better than everybody, and you're not. And she's amongst a group of women who, yeah, some of them might have slept to get rich, but they didn't go through what she went through to get to the bag. So, but she wants to be above them. And every minute she tries to go above them, they're going to throw up in her face, girl, you're a stripper. Your man pulled you off the pole, blah, blah, blah. So you got, you know, you're going to have to develop thick skin, Mia. If you can't take it back, you know, don't dish it out if you can't take it back. So she lets on that G used to walk around in the club with no shoes on. And because his shoes were over at the shoe shine, they had a shoe shine guy in, I guess, in the strip club. And then you could get your clothes clean. There was a massage envy room, or it was just a whole bunch of stuff going on with this place. But she won't say where it was. I think it was somewhere in North Carolina. I don't know. But that's not why she fell in love with him. She fell in love with him because he helped out one of her Haitian friends that set up a charity to help the Haitian victims from the earthquake. Okay, that's her story, and she's sticking to it. Then they bring up about Mia's mom, and Mia says, you know, that her mom is going to pray for Candace. And Candace comes right back at her and says, I don't need that prayer. And I'm with you, Candace, on that. Like, girl, don't even come to me with that. Because, you know, they're all trying to get on Candace about saying your mama. You know, they want to weaponize your mama. Everybody knows that your mama in the Black community, just like Candace said, is a joning thing. It's a signifying thing. It's a, they had a whole show on MTV hosted by Wilmer Valderrama. I think that's what his name was, talking about your mama. And I hated it when they brought that on to MTV, because it was like, man, what do they do? Just sit over the Black community and see, oh, what's the next ignorant thing we can get from Black people and put it on TV? Like, you know, you got the whole Nick Cannon show. I can't think of his show right now. I'm never really Wildin' Out. And that's based on who can signify, who can talk crap better than the next person, who can, as Candace said, joning, who can get better on the next person. And your mama is a part of that. Like, oh, your mama's so fat jokes. Or, you know, so when Mia was trying to say that Candace was low budget because her music video was low budget, so she was like, your mama's low budget. Now Andy wants to go in on Candace about that, and Giselle is trying to go on. And so when she said that, Giselle is trying to act like, what? The Black community, girl, please. How many people on various Black reality shows have we heard say, your mama? Dr. Heavenly, or Married to Medicine, says it. Marlo said it on Real Housewives of Atlanta, your mama, to somebody when she couldn't think of anything good to say. You fall back on your mama. It is not what these people are trying to do, but yes, they're gaslighting Candace. They want to get that horrible response. They want her to overreact, and they want to use this as a way to get rid of her off the show. Because Andy doesn't like Candace. Because we see that when he goes in at some point, but I don't know if that's next. Oh, and this is something that people didn't pick out on their reviews. So when Mia was saying, you know, my mother said she's going to pray for you, and Candace said, I don't need her prayers. And Giselle said, you might real quietly. So Giselle, from what I hear, thinks she's like a producer of the show, even though I don't think she gets executive producer credit for this reality series like Kyle does for Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. But Giselle is, you know, setting up scenes and stuff like that. So she tells Candace, you might need those prayers. Like, basically, I guess letting her know her time is short. And I did hear today that Candace may be fired from Real Housewives of Potomac, because I might just skip over all my other notes of everything to really get into how Andy treated Candace. And I really didn't like it. I really feel like he should be fired. Because the way he went after Candace was horrible, was not nice, and was, to me, unprofessional. Do I want to get into that just yet? Oh, and then, well, yeah. So I'll hold up onto that but I still think Andy should be fired. So next, Robin is having problems with her dress. I thought that was funny. And then she's, you know, and the camera just happens to zoom in as while she's trying to get herself together. I thought that was pretty funny. They still are on Mia about her saying that she had no help from G opening up her Massage Envy franchises. She did that on her own. Supposedly, G owned a lot of McDonald's in the North Carolina area. Don't quote me on that, because I really don't. I'm not interested in Mia. And he sold them and invested in her business, blah, blah, blah. So she lies and lies until they finally get her down and say, yes, she did get help from G. That's it, because G, you were a stripper. Who knows what you were doing prior to being a stripper? And, you know, now you want us to believe you have business acumen to do this. Yes, you might have taken the courses to become a licensed massage therapist or whatever, but you needed business plans. You needed somebody with some business acumen to help you get to where you are. So just say to man, you met a rich man. He helped you out. Y'all living their life, and that's that. You know, he got you off the pole. Then they go on Giselle about her no relationships and you know, and how she's always, I gotta look at my notes, how she's always, they show the montage of, I'm so sorry. Before we go on to that, because I really can't stand Giselle now. Because I used to like be neutral about Giselle, like, oh, she's good for the show, she's messy. Like when she put, you know, when she did that T-shirt with all the tax stuff, what Karen was going through with the taxes her husband owed. I thought that was cute. That's when it was fun shade, when they would do little stuff like that, or when they rang the doorbell dressed up as pizza delivery men, but, you know, Karen didn't. That's cute. This other stuff that they're talking about is fun shade. Is not fun shade at all. So after Candace had pointed out that, hey, Mia's a liar, Giselle, you know, what's his name? Andy brings up the fact about, you know, the text, the ugly text that Mia sent Giselle originally when Mia was going in on Giselle and Wendy. Those were the first ones before she went around to Candace. You know, she sent that ugly text message about, you know, don't, you know, I'll have my assistant follow up with you, some, you know, crap. And then Giselle goes, oh yeah, that's right. You know, yeah, now that was a liar. She's a liar. There you go. Everybody's voice. But Giselle is out to get Candace. So Giselle's up next. You know, they're pointing out her no relationships, her unfinished house. And so they show at the end of the montage, I think Juan had asked her, was she seeing anyone? And she lied and told Juan she was seeing a much younger guy, a younger guy. He's in TV, blah, blah, blah. So Andy's like, who's this guy? I bet you Wendy knows who he is, because we all know Wendy is a political correspondent or a commentator. And, you know, she's on, you know, she's deals with the press, and I've seen her. I think she goes on CNN, MSNBC from time to time, and she talks about political stuff. So Wendy has got her foot on Giselle's neck, and she's pressing, and I love it, because Giselle is always going in on other people's personal lives, but she never talks about her own personal life. So Andy tries to say, is his last name Jones? And so she goes, yes, Van Jones. And Wendy was like, oh no, you're not, you know, oh no, Van Jones would never date you, because he only dates women with integrity. That was, to me, that was like a knife, you know, but only Candace, you know, gets in trouble for what she says. So Giselle just sits there and takes it. That's how she does, you know. And so Wendy says, I know who she dated, because they told me they were dating her, but she's probably not going to admit it, but she knows for sure it's not Van Jones. So anyway, you know, Giselle, as usual, when she's attacked, she just sits like this. You know, until, you know, it's just hilarious to me. And then they talk about her ugly house, how uncohesive it is. And then he, you know, also gets her in the decor. You know, Robin comes to her aid as usual, which is, you know, because they're supposed to be best friends, but Giselle's always throwing Robin under the bus. And, you know, says the house is coming along. Finally, it's going to look, you know, better once it's done, blah, blah, blah. We know that house is ugly. That was a tear down house. She should have started over from scratch. I mean, the money that she's wasting fixing it up like this, it's like you should have just saw how much it cost to tear it down and start over. Or just stay in the house that you were in and wait till you could build a house like Robin is doing, but whatever. So I don't want to keep this video going longer. I'm going to, you know, speed this up. Because I see time is running out. They talk about Grace, the driving scene with Grace and Giselle. I thought that was cute. Andy asked, how does Grace feel about everybody knowing that she's a horrible driver? And Giselle says she's a good sport. What else is she going to say? You know, it took her daughter 5 times to get a learner's permit. Now, I don't know how hard it is in Virginia, in the DMV area, but they say it's really hard to pass the test, the written test. But she, you know, she passed it on the 5th try, and then we saw the girl cannot drive. I don't know how. I think she's only 16, so she'll, you know, get to be a better driver over time. Andy asked whether or not Jamal was a good driver or not, and then Giselle was like, no, he's a horrible driver, and he gets driven everywhere. So Andy's like, well, maybe it's hereditary, maybe that's where she gets it from. So everybody laughs. So this gives him a chance to bring up Jamal and the fact that he cheated on her when she let him back in her life. I think I'm so confused. He just disrespects and treats Giselle horribly. Giselle should have never entertained bringing Jamal Bryant back into her life. But I know she did it for the show. And that's really sad, and to me sick, that you would put your daughters through that, because they were clearly uncomfortable with you guys playing like you were getting back together, but you still want to lie and say that you guys were really trying to get back together, trying to make it work. Maybe you were, but obviously he wasn't, because when what's-her-name brought out the binder, Monique, you know, and was saying he was still involved with another woman, and you knew he was involved with that woman, it was like Karen said, you agreed to be the mistress this go round. You know, so, and I think he may have gotten the woman pregnant. I'm not sure. It was just so messed up. And it was just like all this to stay on the show. you know, you'd have did better to date some of those guys. You know, you were dating like, I think season 1 or season 2. You know, just show your dating life, not bring back this Jamal character who you knew it was not going to work. Even if it did work, you would have to get off the show and be living in Atlanta because his church is based in Atlanta. So anyway, you know, so they point out all that, and then, oh, and then the fact that he has the $800,000 tax lien, and, you know, if she could be exposed to that because the $800,000 tax lien came up during their marriage. So Andy asked her, like, why doesn't she open up about her relationships? Because she's always grilling everybody else about theirs, but she's quiet about hers. And she's just like, you know, she is just a very closed person, blah, blah, blah. But you harass other people about your relationships. So then he asked her if she cried when she found out that Jamal cheated on her again, blah, blah, blah. We know she did because word got out when Monique brought that binder out and just blew the whole show up with it, basically, you know, throwing out all of Giselle's business out there, and the fact that the mistress had, or not the mistress, the girlfriend gave Monique the right phone number, and Giselle didn't deny that that was Jamal Bryant's real phone number. Supposedly afterwards, or like, they had to stop the show because she had a big breakdown, but they didn't let us see that. They let her stay on the show and look like this, and like she's so composed, and like she's this ice princess, nothing affects her, and it did. But they want to go after Candace. So I'm just going to go to that point. Oh, I can't get to that point just yet because they bring in my girl, Escala. Oh, and Giselle will be, if the $800,000 tax lien was from 2008 and she was in that marriage, the government's going to look at her too because they were a family. And if they filed joint taxes together, she will be exposed. She swears up and down she's in the clear. She bought a new house. That has nothing to do with it, sweetheart. If you guys file jointly on those taxes, they're going to be looking at you because guess what? You're on TV. You're making money now and you can pay them back. So in walks Escala, the Ethiopian princess, I'm going to call her. I hope they bring her back. I hope they give her a second season. I want Escala to take up a voice and diction course. Not so much for her diction, it's more of her voice to be able to project and talk. Because she has like a small voice. And you're going to have to speak up. And I don't like the way Andy did her. They had her come out for like 2 seconds. And maybe she addressed it. Well, what they showed us, it was like, but even Mia said that was it. That's all, you know, like, so, she enters the room. Andy jokes that he's going to bring on Candace's mother next. And she's like, if you do that, I'm leaving. And, so Andy praises her about her style, fashion sense, tells her that she's really popular with the fans of the show. And then, he asked her who would she help as far as dressing, and she said she would pick Giselle, you know, and bring her current. And Giselle was like, no, I don't need her to do anything for me, whatever. She is just so silly. But everybody loves Giselle. She is safe, but Candace is not safe. Then they go on a montage about Candace and her life, and we see she bought a new house. Her husband is her husbander, which I find just her saying it over and over again in the way she says it was irritating me to hell. And then they even pointed out Chris drinking, whatever. Dorothy, her mother's messiness. You know, we all know how she went around and was telling everybody at the video shoot all of Candace's business per Dorothy. And supposedly, you know, Candace did, you know, have to get into her mother about what she did. She starts crying. They get the tissue ready. Giselle being shady to Andy, talking about, because the first tissue he just handed over, and Giselle was like, no, you're gonna have to fold it up. So anyway, I thought that was shady, but that was cute. And so Candace lets everybody know that, hey, yeah, I had to talk to my mother about that, and I had to curse her out because the in-laws watched the show, and they're not really happy about it, and it's made her marriage with Chris very unhappy right now. And then so anyway, I'm just gonna forget the other notes because I just want to really get into the exchange between Candace and Andy. When Andy talks about that, it's her mouth that gets her in these problems, that she provokes people to want to physically attack her. They bring up the butter knife, which she really didn't throw at Ashley. She threw it on the floor. And like Candace said, she had asked Ashley to leave her house not one, not two, but 3 times. And the cow kept coming back into her house. I mean, at that point, I'd be ready to throw something because she had Chris trying to restrain her, which I had a problem with Chris, the way he handles Candace. He doesn't let Candace get her row out. He's supposed to have her back. If anything, he should have asked one of the ladies, please, have Ashley, help Ashley stay outside. But we know that Giselle had Ashley come back in the house, which was really wrong to set up the scene. Did Candace have to throw the butter knife? No, but she could have just dropped the plate on the floor. People do that. We've seen that in other series where Lisa Rinna broke a glass in a restaurant on a table. I thought she was getting ready to cut, like they say, cut a bitch. I thought she was getting ready to cut Kim Richards. I think her name is Kim Richards. But what Candace did was wrong. Then, like Candace said, and then when they bring up what happened at the vacation house, her throwing 2 pieces of lettuce, Karen in the background talking about, yeah, I was scared with that. Okay, so now we're gonna grill Candace about what really mounted into a food fight. And Mia was being messy and evil and nasty. She wants to be this bougie broad, this bougie bitch, and she's not. You came from the streets, and it's not your fault that your parents were drug addicts and your mom went to prison. That's not, and you ended up in the foster care system. That is not your fault. But why are you trying to come on this show and act like you're better than everybody else? Yeah, her video was, using a small budget. She was just starting out. And just like Andy pointed out, to Mia, that, hey, you've started businesses, that it's going to be, but we know that low budget. She was trying to say that they were low budget. Like, oh yeah, and she did tell Candace she was a hood rat. Like, really? This girl grew up upper middle class. Her mom, both her parents are doctors. Candace don't know anything about the hood. So anyway, he gets around to telling Candace that she's the common denominator when it comes to everything. He gets all these tweets about people wanting her fired. And like she said, they want other people fired off of shows. Like, why is she so different? She never starts anything. She responds to the attack. And as for whatever reason, hers land, right? Even though Karen has said horrible things about Giselle. Ashley, her mouth is vicious. I've just went on through this before on this channel about Ashley's mouth, about Karen's mouth. But they're, I might need to get some water. But they're only going after Candace. And this is where the colorism comes in for me. And it's not because I'm a dark-skinned black woman, whatever. It's not. It's more of, it's so unfair that, when Candace first came on the show, she was, to me, a little bubbly person. She was just wanted to have fun, all this other stuff. And then somewhere along the way, people turned on her. And I don't know what it is. And I think it was, they thought they could talk to her any kind of way. And Candace let them know, yeah, I might not have grown up in the hood, but I know how to verbally get you off my back. And she did. If you go back and look at the season she got on, when she first came on, Giselle tried to go for her. She got Giselle up, to the point where Giselle lost character. If you guys go back, look at that lunch scene, that's what sealed Candace's contract to come back the next season, when she got after Giselle and had Giselle just lose complete character and was frowning and was, she couldn't sit back and look stupid and stoic like she do now. And then when Sharice tried to tell her about herself, and she got Sharice together and called her geriatric or whatever. Look, my thing is, if you can't handle it, don't dish it out. And Candace is like me. People think, oh, because you talk a certain way, you grew up a certain way, that you don't know how to you don't know how to get people together. And you do all because you're smart. You've been watching them, and you can just, like she told, I think in the next episode, or maybe it was this one, that, well, how does Chris get paid? And it was this episode. and Mia's like, how does Chris get paid? And Candace is like, well, I pay him in love and affection. And then Mia's like, and that's a prostitute, when someone pays for sex. And Candace was like, and you would know. That's it. She didn't, that. And it landed, because it's very dry, it's very sarcastic, and it hits the spot. It hits the target. So we're going to see as we go into the next one. The girls, they're still there. It's going to be reunion part 2. They're still going to be going in on Candace, because Candace is the show. If they get rid of Candace, who are we going to, nobody's interested in Mia and her, crazy husband. And I'm saying that nicely. And Wendy, nobody's really, interested in Wendy and Addie. And, people are just mesmerized by Giselle's beauty. Giselle's going to keep Robin on the show as a shield and a friend, because she really don't mess with the other ladies. Karen is there as the, frenemy. And no, who cares about Ashley? Come on, take her and her pervert of a husband off the show. Yeah, I don't know. That's the greatest sign, as Candace says, white privilege, that a man that went around and allegedly attacked 3 people in connection with this show, 3 men, 3 black men, and they could still stay on the show. I don't know where they do that at, only for white people, because had he been white and attacked, well, physically, his physical touches were not wanted. If he did that to one person, he would be off the show. That couple would be off the show. So Andy wants to get rid of Candace. He doesn't like her for whatever reason. I think she falls like Kenya, how he didn't like Kenya. And Kenya actually had to go to the heads of, I think, either Bravo or NBC to get her job back on The Real Housewives of Atlanta, because I don't know why he didn't like Kenya. I'm beginning to think that he does not like intelligent, dark-skinned black women. I really don't. So I don't know how much longer I could watch these shows too, because it's pissing me off. But I will finish these reunion reviews, and we'll see where we go with the next show with Andy and the Real Housewives franchise. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for my review of Reunion Part 2. And I'm going to do a reveal. See you on the next one. Bye.